o'clock. We'll call the meeting to order, and we have an edit to the agenda.
Yes, I had forgotten that you need to approve the VOREC wayfinding package. So we're gonna do that right after public comment.
We talked about that last
Yep,
time.
and I forgot to put on the agenda, but Chris Forrest is gonna come. I think so. If not, we're basically just approving a lot of that work that Andrew Plotsky did for free. And so we're just approving it. Obviously, it's already built into the grant, the kiosks and things, and then we would just adopt it as we move forward. So we're gonna put that after public comment.
All right.
And that's all I have for changes to the agenda.
Do you have a motion to approve as edited?
Motion to approve. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Equity inclusion, you are up.
So yeah, we're just, no pressure. It's just an update. Jordan and other sub members had asked to have every committee come, so it was just your turn. You just drew the short straw.
But we're happy to be here.
Yeah.
So this committee was founded in 2010, really around addressing issues of racial equity and inequity in the town council.
I think you need to speak up a little bit. Sorry, just people complain times they can't hear.
Okay, I'll try.
Okay, thank you.
And since then, we've been meeting regularly. We typically meet once a month. And we have a pretty robust committee with members who've come and gone, but we've had a steadfast membership. And in that time, we've gotten a grant through the Vermont Community Foundation to fund some of our work and our projects in town. And one of the big things that we've done regularly is a book club where we are meeting usually quarterly and bringing different discussions, authors, and even most recently a short film that we watched to discuss around issues of racial equity. And it's been a really wonderful group of people who come together. We provide childcare and meals during the event just to really try to make it accessible for anyone in the community to come to. Another project that we've done is to host the annual Juneteenth event right at the band show. And last year, I think it was probably our event that we had a live band that we brought in collaboration with the Chandler in America. And, bounce house and special guest speakers, and I think over 200 people who were in attendance. So it was a really great event. And this year, our committee actually just met and we're thinking about the best way to sort of continue that work. So more information will be forthcoming about this year's event.
The decoration.
Oh, that's great. This was another great project that we worked on with, I can't remember the man's name. Do you know? There was a man from the northern part of Vermont who had an initiative to work with municipalities all around the state to come up with a statement of inclusion.
Wow.
Yeah,
he was great.
He was so awesome. He was
Wasn't he?
wonderful.
Yeah.
And
Although they were all octogenarians.
yeah,
They were awesome. Yeah.
so wonderful. And having the time to really go around and support committees like ours and thinking about how to craft a message that would resonate with our town and make sense here. And so that's on the website. You have to do a little clicking to get to it, but you can find it, as well as different posters that we've had. So, and I'm going to turn it now to Jesse about other things before then.
So one of the other sort of larger ongoing projects that we're involved in is along with the town meeting. They're not called that anymore.
No, they are town meeting
Town
and
meeting.
outreachers. They have like a really community engagement,
Community
yes,
engagement.
a very long title there.
Is they have a conversation about crime and safety in our town. And we have a few like that, those are ongoing conversations that are happening. It's been really well attended, we've had conversations, 5 hamlets in Bethel, with good attendance, and a lot of good information came out of that, bringing people together, bringing neighbors together. And that's part of our work too, is getting people engaged and connecting with, figuring out how to actually connect with people and the things that are problems in our town. And so that's been really successful. There's it has informed there's a good amount of data gathered, and that's from those conversations. A report was generated about what is affecting the town of Bethel, the residents of the town of Bethel, in terms of crime and safety right now. Some of you all have heard about that, or been there, or are continuing to be involved in this work. So it's been very successful, I think, sort of bringing people together and having people's voices heard. There's definitely a few. Before I go into like there's upcoming conversations and events that are happening as part of that partnership. But there's another couple other things that the EIC has done. One of them is supporting a trans and non-binary Monday meetup group, which is a group of folks who meet every Monday. It's just open to people coming out and have snacks and meet together, have a space to just hang out together. And that's been ongoing for say almost 2 years now.
Are you still doing that? Because did you move it?
Yes.
Oh.
It's been moved to a different location.
Oh, there you go.
Yes. And
That's okay. Fine.
I had it turned
I have notes. So yeah, the upcoming things that are happening, hopefully we will see some or all of you there. The next one is Tuesday, May 27th at 6 p.m. This is Understanding Substance Use Disorders. And a person from the Gifford Medical Center Department of Addiction Medicine will be coming to give a talk presentation and discussing how we can help talking about navigating addiction and answering questions addressing this issue. Where? That's a great question. I don't have that information. Okay. I think it might be at the Blossom Block, the art center. That's at 6 o'clock. We can send this all out. But that's coming up June 24th, how the Vermont criminal legal system works. We're having a local criminal defense attorney come and also give a presentation about how the criminal legal process in Vermont works, from investigation, arrest, booking, detail, prosecution, sentencing, the whole process. Just a place for folks to come ask questions, learn from somebody who's doing it. And after that, in July, there'll be a harm reduction 101. So another speaker will come, the Director of Health and Wellness at the Pride Center of Vermont, talk about overdose prevention techniques, stigma, and resources for supporting friends and family and neighbors who are navigating addiction. And then in August, there was restorative justice court diversion in Vermont. And so that will be is a more in-depth look at restorative justice and how that works in an actual court setting. So yeah, I have more information on this, but a lot of stuff going on. And we are here to be a resource for the select board as things come up. We're here to be a sounding board if needed in decision-making that's happening. If there's a question about, are we doing the right thing? Is this something that is not equitable? Is this something that we should maybe think more about before making this decision? We are here for that. So. Yeah.
You guys are busy.
We have been busy. Another commitment that we've really tried to do is to have a representative from our committee attend every select board meeting, which, as you all know, is a huge commitment because we meet frequently. But in that, we, just like Dusty was saying, we hope to be able to listen and provide input, in ways that would be supportive to equity seeking.
I know that they haven't already, the planning commission will be reaching out to you because they're gonna do, you know, a townwide survey, and they'll be doing a section. I know that we agreed, when I was on the planning commission, I think it was that because Al would come to the planning commission, it was so good, and, making equity and inclusion, part of the town plan, and I had talked to Eric Webb, the chair of equity, chair of the planning commission, and, at the time, Sarah Rake and Two Rivers, they had money to do a chapter on, I guess, equity and stuff like that for free for the town plan. So whether or not that's still available or not, but I think that's something that was in their talk, so I know that they'll be reaching out to you too. So aside from just the Declaration of Inclusion, I think that there might be more, you know, substantive, more of a chapter. Yeah.
The town plan was one of our initial things that brought us
Yeah.
into the room, thinking about issues about accessibility in businesses and accessible parking and accessible housing, none of which at that point were in the town plan. So it's I'm really happy that someone from the planning commission will be reaching out.
Yeah, no, because they're gonna reach out, I think they're gonna do something where they maybe have all the committees come here and, you know, kind of, where are you doing, what are you doing, but, since, you know, no one's ever happy with the survey that the select board does, they're gonna take over the surveys. So, plus they'll need to do a big one if they're gonna do a town plan rewrite, because it's a massive undertaking, and, but yeah, so you'll be hearing from Eric Webb or someone from planning commission, so, you know, so you can be prepared to be a part of that, be great, very helpful.
And I think we were also part of the push to move towards hybrid meetings, to get the Zoom feature available for these
Yeah.
meetings. I know that I've used that option, it's fantastic, so thank you.
Yeah, it worked out, now it's state or not advisory boards, so now the DRB has to do it, BCA, you know, so there's the state law, so see, you were out of the curve. So, anyways, yeah, so if you get that information, to Alice, she can forward it to the select board members if you want. The, you know, date of where those meetings are and times, she can do that. And then I'll look for your pictures, so I can forward it to Richard, because his property's still not training right at Abe's. We will make it right, so we'll figure it out, but,
I thought when they got done over there a couple weeks, well, things were looking pretty good. but
it did until it rained. Yeah, so he's gonna send me some pictures, so I'll share them.
Yeah, you know, forward to me, let me know what's going on. We'll just put it in the right hands.
Yeah, exactly. We'll get it.
Anyone have any questions or thoughts for the equity and inclusion?
Oh, I just got a message that those meetings will be held here at town hall.
Okay, perfect. That's it.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Perfect. All right, thank you, guys.
Thanks
A
for
lot
coming.
moving on.
Thank you.
All right, our next, we have Tom Burgos to update us, from Tri-Valley Transit.
There he
And
is.
he's here.
11 years.
Yeah.
11 years he served. Well, was it Stagecoach first and then Tri-Valley Transit?
That's right. If you know the history of it. there's
Yeah.
Some tumult in the management area for Stagecoach, and there was a crisis.
Yeah,
And we went out with our management contract to bring in Jim Moulton, who was the executive director at Addison County.
Yep. I remember him.
And for 3 years, we were in that management contract.
Yep.
And stabilized everything. We put together a board over the 3 years that was one that needed a lot of trust and openness and getting to know one another and support one another and have a fair
Yep.
representation for the organization, and it's worked well.
That's
since then.
great.
Yeah.
Jim was a nice guy. I remember him.
And now you guys are thinking about merging.
We have, well, we have merged.
You merged
We
with
are
us,
TBT,
right?
and that's part of my other update. I'll
Yeah.
share something about that, yes. You've already pointed to it, and
Yep.
that is the possibility of merging into our operation, Washington County.
Oh, Washington County, sorry, I had done the wrong one.
It's a big, it's like swallowing an elephant. It's a pretty
Yeah.
big deal. It's,
Yeah.
it's half our size. So it would be
Oh.
3 equal-sized regions coming together. And that's but I'm gonna get to that.
Yep.
What I wanted to say first of all was that I have served as the Bethel rep for 11 years, and I've enjoyed it, and I had the opportunity to step right into a board role for TBT. And I've been the chair, I've been the vice chair, I've been the treasurer, I'm the treasurer now. I've been the chair of finance and investment nominating committees, and chair of those now. And a member of the regional operating committee, and we'll come back to that.
Okay.
And I'm also a volunteer driver. I drive every week.
Wow.
For Tri-Valley, all over Orange and lots of Windsor County.
Yeah.
So I've enjoyed that too. It's been great. But after 11 years on the board, I've decided to step down from TVT's board. And that's separate from the Bethel rep, and we'll talk about that in a second. My recurring 3-year board term was coming to an end, and I could run for reelection, but there's some other things going on too that, again, involve the merger with Washington County that I'll speak to. My 3-year term would end June 30, or essentially at the next annual meeting, which is in July. But I see it as kind of at the end of June, but I've offered to stay on right up to the July meeting. There's nominating stuff that has to go on. I'm the chair of the nominating committee, so some stuff has to continue. But I am still willing to stay on as the Bethel representative. And I know it's a 1-year term and it's been renewed one after
Yep.
another. I'm happy to do that for another 1-year term. And whether it's July, the date would start and finish, or if it's March, whatever, I'm fine with whatever. But I would do that at the pleasure of the select board. I will say that Teresa and I both know that Paul Valley expressed some interest in it. I think because he didn't know exactly what my intention was.
Yes, exactly, yep.
Because of the 2 positions, a board seat and a Bethel representative. Okay. When I said I was going to step off the board, he might have interpreted that as a complete step away, and
Which is what I thought, yeah, I thought.
I'm here at the pleasure of the board to do the representative, but I'm open to it. If Paul or anybody else steps forward and wants to take over, their select board can appoint them, of course. But I wanted to fill the role for another year because I know the select board has some new people. And I know Tri-Valley is going to be under some stress for a little while, at least
Yeah.
for a year. So we'll take it year by year.
Yep.
But for now, the board term just came to an end, and I said, this is a good time to step off. So I will say that the Bethel representative does not necessarily get a board seat. There is the possibility that the Bethel rep can be appointed to the regional operating committee. So what that means is under the board of directors is an executive director. And right now, 2 regions, Addison and Orange, Windsor. And above those, we have these things called a board committee, and there are only some board members, but there are community representatives on them, and that's what the Bethel representative would do, who comment on service and resources needed and changes to the services that are provided. So there's a lot of input there from the communities.
Yep.
That this person would potentially have some input to. The way the regional operating committees are staffed is a little bit going under some, kind of tightening up the ship a little bit now with another region coming in. We need to tighten up our procedures, our bylaws and things like that. So whether there's 7 or 10 people on that committee, whatever, it's been about 7 right now. But one of the things we're absolutely doing now is allowing, I should say, requiring half or more of the people on that committee who have input into operations and service decisions, half of them or more have to be appointed by the towns that contribute the Tri-Valley, we want, they have a chance to be on that committee. Okay, but there may be enough of those people that we have to have elections.
Oh, wow.
So that's what we're kind of going through, and that's part of what I'm gonna try to establish on my way out in the next month.
Yeah.
And again, it might not be cast in stone, but that's the idea.
So if I understand this correctly, and so please, correct me if I'm wrong. So the select board reappoints you for another year. That's fine, July, whatever it is. So is you're thinking that eventually you would not be that 1-year person and you would rise to the board level, the regional, no, you're thinking you'll get done and then maybe Paul would take over for
That's
you
what
in
I
a
was
year.
thinking. And I encouraged Paul, I said, I would
Yeah.
support you if I step away.
Yeah.
And again, I would evaluate whether the time is right, but I am likely to step away a year from now. I'm
Yeah.
definitely off the board this year.
Oh.
And maybe off the rep, Bethel's rep, a year from now.
Yep. So, all right, so we don't have, so the board is one separate thing, you got chosen for that, but it's not, the only thing that we need to provide is a Bethel representative.
Yes.
Correct, okay.
That's right.
So- Mm-hmm.
Motion to appoint Tom Burgos as the rep for the Tri-Valley Transit in Bethel.
For another year?
Second that.
All in favor?
Opposed, you can't be throwing those things out, Tom, they're just gonna.
Oh, well, I tell you,
Makes sense for continuity, for you to stay, and appreciate that, it's very gracious of you to do so, especially after so many years of service, and, but I think you're right, that's gonna be a big deal. So it'd be nice, for you to be there to help them with that transition with your history.
so now I want to make some comments on the update regarding the Washington County piece of business.
Absolutely.
Okay, as you probably heard, it's been in the news, Green Mountain Transit, GMT, has been in some hot water, they're in some financial distress. They're really based in the Burlington area primarily, but they have tentacles that reach into Washington County all the way to Berlin.
Mhm.
And up into Franklin County a little bit. They're big, and they're probably they specialize more in urban transportation and not in rural. And the way the whole organization is set up is I'd say V-Trans Public Transit is the two silos, urban and rural.
Yeah.
And they can't do both well. They can do urban okay. The good news is Tri-Valley is probably the best in the state at the rural.
Yeah.
We got, like I said, we got a great executive director. We have a good board. He's got good people, good culture. So V-Trans knows that and has reached out and really leaning heavily on Tri-Valley to please take this over. Please absorb Washington County's rural.
So you won't take over Chittenden County's routes, you're just gonna take over the rural part of Washington County.
That's right, that's right.
That's enough.
It's a lot, it's
Yeah.
a lot, yeah. Like I said, it's half, they're half the size we are
Wow.
now, so it would be like 1/3, 1/3, 1/3, and that's where the board comes in. Now we're talking about board restructuring
Yeah.
and allowing them some seats at the table. So instead of we're a board of 12 now.
Mhm.
6 from Addison, 6 from Orange Windsor. And we're talking about going 4, 4, and 4.
Yeah.
So eventually we're gonna have attrition and I wouldn't say anybody's gonna get kicked off the board, but at some point we're gonna have to have 4, 4, and 4
Yeah,
from this side, so.
makes sense.
In kind of in the spirit of that, I thought that's another reason to
Mhm.
step off now. Just free up that seat at this point. So the TDT board's been doing its due diligence probably for better part of 3 months now. And we've met with, not the Secretary of Transportation, but person who's in charge of rural public
Mhm.
transit. And we have drafted what we'll call a memorandum of agreement as to this is what we need to do to make this happen.
Yep.
And we need some guarantees. We need to manage some transition costs, and we want to hire, like a volunteer driver coordinator and a regional manager, Mike Reeder. was
Yep,
a
I do.
Regional,
Yeah,
I'm sorry, the, community relations person.
Yeah.
Because they haven't managed their community relations real well. They
Yep.
don't have good, human volunteers, driving force or community funding, so it's just been kind of left to.
yeah. So you're
With-
hoping that V-Trans will partner with you to provide some financial assurances as well, since they're the ones wanting you to take it over, so.
That's right.
Oh,
And-
good,
And we don't want to do it if it's gonna kill TVT.
right,
There are, a lot of, I don't know, part of the reason with the, high cost for Green Mountain Transit is their union contracts, which were very generous, including fringe benefits, which probably too rich for us. So we're gonna have to negotiate around that. The union's gonna have a stand, and we need support in our negotiations. We have a lawyer involved, so it's complicated.
it is, yeah.
It's complicated.
Unions.
And in theory, we would make an agreement to yay or nay
Mhm.
by July 1st.
Yep.
To assume it the following July.
Mhm. Yeah,
So there will be evaluate a whole lot of things, get some people in positions that can, get boots on the ground and start to manage things.
yeah,
So that is, in a nutshell where we are. Yeah, I explained about the board structure too, so.
Mhm.
As I said, if I stay in this position, I would not necessarily be on the board.
Yep.
Nor would Paul have a seat on the board, but
right,
the seat that we're offering is the regional operating committee. For the 20+ towns in the Orange, Windsor area, there's only of the municipalities who have appointed representative, probably 6 people are gonna have those seats. The other 6 could go to people who are just recommended to be on, like somebody from Two Rivers is on.
Yep.
Our group. Rita is on
yeah.
the group, yeah.
Rita Cito.
So there'll be other folks like that who we think are gonna make the board, would again, have elections to say, this is the people we want on the committee to do the work of the committee.
Yep.
Yeah.
That is going to be a big undertaking, so.
Yeah, we don't do anything easy. I think we do it well, but it's not easy. So. As I said, I'm willing to serve as another year. Thank you for putting that to vote today. That's behind us. I spoke to Paul.
Mhm.
We were in agreement as to, he said, you do what you want to do, and I've been very
Right.
clear with him on what we.
Yeah,
wanna
he
do.
said, so that's great, I appreciate that.
Well, thank you, Tom, for the update and everything that's going on.
You're
Great.
welcome.
Good news, you'll stay on another year.
Yeah, thank you for all your years of service. When I saw your email, I was like, wow, I knew you'd been doing it since I came, but I wasn't sure, so I appreciate that.
All right, we are at, is there any public comment tonight? All right, we have the amendment to the agenda to adopt the wayfinding branding design by Andrew Plotsky.
So the last meeting, there was a lot of information, so it did not occur to me until after the fact that the only select board member that was here when Vorak started was Dave. So obviously I forwarded you all the presentations. Chris Forrest did a great job. Andrew did a great job. And, a lot of the work that Andrew did, and he certainly wasn't tooting his own horn, was he did it for free. So basically what this is that we're moving forward with is, he designed the font and everything. And the kiosks are all part of VOREC, which will be paid for that. The other point is that we will have this design that we will all start to incorporate as we need letterhead, as we need envelopes, as we need, it will be adopted. We're not running out and doing anything with it. I'm not parting with any money out of the town funds right now. We will just pick it up and slowly incorporate it, but also make it available for businesses to use. So while it's not a big rebranding of the town of Bethel, it could do a unification. I really like the work he did. Like if you looked at the libraries and if you looked at other people's, it kind of just more, unified. So anyway, so that's what we were looking for is, I don't really know if you need an actual motion, but like, yeah, consensus that you like the design, you appreciate the work, and that we'll incorporate it as we move forward. I'm not sure you need a full-on motion for it, but
I'd put
You
forth
do
my
whatever.
approval. I thought, sorry. I thought he did really strong work, but I think, he mentioned he might be willing to put together like a brand guideline.
yeah, he said he would do that for us. But I don't want him to spend the time doing that if we don't,
Yep.
make the guy do more stuff. But
Sure, sure.
yeah, he said he would do that for after the fact and put something together for it.
Yeah, I think that's helpful. I mean, I totally agree. We should adopt it. It's good
Yeah.
stuff, but, I think it'd be helpful just to, so things don't run away on us. that
Yeah, I
there
think
are
it's gonna be
guidelines.
good, so we're all kind of
Yeah.
unified, so that, when we need letterhead in a year, we all remember, okay, this is what we can do, and giving it out, and like I said, making sure everybody's the same page, so. No, then I will ask.
Is that a yes from you, Brian?
Yes or yes?
So I'll make sure that, so what did you call it again, Ben? He agreed to do a what?
Like brand guidelines.
Okay,
Yep.
thank you. I was like, what was that word? Yep,
And that way we don't have people doing green text on
Right.
green signs and stuff like that.
exactly. Yep, all right, perfect. Well, that's good. I appreciate that, so.
All right, and now we have the annual meeting to set the water and sewer rates for July 2025 to June 2026. The proposed sewer budget will increase the water rate from 198.38 a quarter to 205.66 a quarter, an increase of 3.6%. The proposed water budget will increase the water rate from 129.51 a quarter to 133.04 a quarter, an increase of 2.7%.
So in your packet, you have a copy of the budgets. We did have budgets in the town report, and Richard and I always do our best to put out a good one, but it always says on the bottom that it's a draft because they're the only budget that you solely approve, so it comes out and you approve it in May. But we do put a draft in town report, and we were pretty good. We were pretty good when we did it for January. I'm not sure. Yeah. Yeah. And so you also get to see all the math. So you can see, I'm using wastewater, you can see what our production was, what our rental is, what other revenues, our budget. Reserved EUs are here. That's how we calculate, because Bethel does not have meters. So we base the water sewer rates on EUs, which are equivalent user units. So you can see all the math here as to how we get down to the rate. The interesting thing for Richard and I, as we talk about this, is how much we produced in a year, whether it's water or sewer. We're all, that's always interesting. We'll see, like this year, okay, is it higher? Is it lower? Why? What would have been what would have triggered it? Because, so we go through this back and forth of trying to solve it, so some of it we're pretty good at, whether we've had a big water leak, obviously GW would have put a lot of water through the system. That was a big leak. So it's pretty interesting the way the way it works. But I didn't know if you had any questions on the budget or on the math. I figured you'd like this, Ben. I was like, Ben is gonna be loving the math. He's gonna see this.
Seemed pretty straightforward to me.
Yeah, I mean, it's, we've used this format for a few years now. And so, yeah, so unfortunately, yes, the water rates are going to increase a little bit. As you know, it's a closed system currently. I'm not sure we still got the wave yet that we can add someone to the system. Not yet. So, so currently it is a closed system, but even if it wasn't technically, it's, unless someone's building a brand new like apartment building or something, I don't really see a ton of growth in the water system. Do you? I mean, if you look at the layout of Bethel and the land and where the water system currently runs, so it starts on Pleasant Street. I think Chris Jarvis is the last house, comes to we do have some clients in Royalton, which are right around Dandelion Acres. That ends, it goes out to Tessie's Tavern up to, Crystal Drive. That's about the end of it there. Yep, he's on. Yep. And then it goes just after the town garage, right? Goes a couple houses down on Sand Hill. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you kind of get the general layout of,
Yep.
of it. Oh, I was, sorry, we're all looking at each other.
Disco time.
So it's okay. So, so you get an idea, and then the sewer is about 2/3 of the size of water. So sewer has about 2/3 of the clients of water, so.
Doesn't cross the river.
What doesn't cross the river?
Sewer doesn't cross River Street Bridge.
Right, it does not. Yeah, so the sewer, like I said, is smaller. Yeah. Yeah, so.
All right, so I
you have any
need a motion to
questions?
approve the water sewer rate.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor? All right, and now
So just real quick, I'm sorry. So Jude, so Richard is here. So Ben, this is Richard Manning. Richard is the
we
chief
met.
water sewer operator. Okay, so you do know, all right? And then, obviously we're finishing up eventually phase 2 of the water project. Hopefully, so, I don't know if you had any questions while Richard is here about the water system or the.
Ben said it all looked
project.
good to him.
Get it? Or the water project or anything like that, so.
Waterworks are about done. Right? The pump house is.
Yes, yep,
Yeah,
we,
Both pumps is done. Oh, you got the pump?
yeah. Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to give him a minute.
39 additional PSI, Crystal Drive. Right now, we're boosting it between 20 and 25 PSI, just to make sure that there's no issues before we crank it up. To full capacity.
What's the goal, the end goal?
The end goal for that portion, well, Crystal Drive, because of the elevation, they had crappy pressure to begin with. So that section of that project, they got a new 4-inch main line up through there. And the booster station to boost the pressure for those residents.
30, 40, 50, 60 PSI, what?
The booster station is designed to add an additional 39 PSI in static pressure. And right now, we're only operating at between 20 and 25 PSI, just to make sure that things are running correctly and smoothly before we do crank it all the way up.
We don't want to blow out anybody's, so all of a sudden there's a pressure release valve.
There was some homes up there that had a lack of water. They actually had their own little booster pumps in the basement. And I've talked to a couple of those residents, and since we've got the station online now, and, only boosting what we're boosting now, I mean, they've seen significant increase in their pressure and usable water stuff, so.
So I think all the work is done, except we may have to replace a valve on near Dick Adams.
Yeah, Dick
house.
Adams' old house is curb stop. they finished up the site work for the booster station. There's still a couple of things, and then they gotta finish the exterior of the building.
Mhm.
Other than that, that's done. The well house, the building is up. We brought a couple of weeks ago. They finished the interior sheet rocking. And sheet rock finishing last week. Things were obviously damp with the weather, so stuff was drying slow. But I believe it was completed last Friday, and today they were supposed to be painting the inside of the building. Once that gets done, the electrician's supposed to start in there hanging the panels and other equipment back up.
Is the pump in the ground yet?
What's that?
Is the pump in the ground?
No, we were looking for an update for that portion of it. From the contractor who was supposed to reach out to the company over in New York that's working with Menage. To get the pump components and stuff, to see what the lead time was and when they were coming to install it. But,
So I think all the groundwork is done. Well,
there'll be
aside
some
from-
additional site work
aside
to
from
finish restoration stuff
Fixing,
over there.
yeah, babes, well, that'll be, so
And
there's some
then
site work
stuff.
there, but as far as infrastructure, that's all.
So this pump over here is keeping low pressure water flow.
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
Yep, so.
Yeah, so the sooner we can get that go back up and running, the better off we're gonna be to start getting that ready.
Yeah, exactly. So anyways, just wanted you guys to hear. I'm not telling, but they might not hear from somebody else. Ask me.
Did they put in a chlorine contact chamber when they did that?
That
Over
was
here?
actually put in 1999.
For the,
From Bethel, yeah, when they did that new 12-inch main from Bethel
Oh,
up to.
when they went up to the department.
Yeah,
That's right. I forgot. It was still there.
Well, good.
Anyone else? One question, are those OSHA approved Crocs?
well, I think that'd be okay for you.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Get a little lights on.
But, you know, I'll have to run back. and get work.
There you go.
Get our lights on the front.
Well, thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Yeah. so. I was like, Richard, he comes like once a year, unless it's for the ATV club.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
Yeah.
there you go.
All right, motion to accept Gary Kugler's resignation from the Fire Advisory Board with immense gratitude for his service and dedication.
Motion to approve. Second.
Any comment on anything?
Thanks for service.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's amazing, really.
Very
everything
helpful.
He's done and will continue to do, he's certainly laid some groundwork for, the fire department, and the officers certainly are, want to get done the things that he still wants done, and the fire advisory board is stepping up. I think it's going to be a learning curve over the next year as the officers grow and the fire advisory board to kind of figure out how they run together, but I think we have a good mix of people on both ends, so it should be really good.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, local emergency management plan, municipal adoption form. I read that. I think Jason and
Yes,
Paul
Jason read it
read
and
it.
yeah, it's a similar form. The state tweaked it for some reason. We used to send it every May. By the beginning of May, it had to be to Two Rivers. Now it has to go to the state of Vermont, but at the time I'm still waiting to see about my emergency services appointee. I think that's going to be Ryan Adams from the fire department. I approached him to see if he would do it. It used to be that Dave Aldrich was my alternate, but I was looking for someone as a firefighter that maybe didn't have all the responsibility of an officer, so. But the rest of the information is there. And this. Excuse me? Oh, yeah, and it was pretty much the same format, but yeah, a lot of the phone numbers, contractors, but the state took it over and then they tweaked it by having us, now this section has to go here and this section has to go there, and wasn't really much to it. So it's pretty much. No, it's the same format, and yeah, basically, I mean, we all know what happens when it gets, it's an emergency. We all know what the role is, but made sure that it was just updated contacts. They also added room to add other contacts like more daycares, if we had what do I want to say, senior housing or something like that. So this gave us basically some more room to add that. But I met with fire department and got some contact updates, went through their equipment again because that's specified in here. We don't actually release the entire thing because it's actually not a public document. We only release cover, but you'll get a copy. The fire department gets a copy. I have one. AJ gets a copy. Yeah, no, they just ask if we have one, and we've been through the drill enough that, Lord knows, we didn't have to update our actual policies. It's just the LEMP, which is basically a general general packet of all of our information. So we did, so that kind of thing, just like a standard update, which we do annually. Actually try to do it during the year as people change, new select board members or this or that. So, but nothing major, no.
Motion to adopt the local emergency management plan. Sorry, I had one more question.
Yeah.
If you don't mind. You were talking about all these required elements. These are the documents that are not public.
Right, the LEMP is about this thick.
Got it. Okay.
So.
Well, that was my question. Where's all the documents?
Yeah, it's about thick,
Yeah.
so I don't put it in the packet because we actually don't release it. It has a bunch of contact information and names, and really for me, the key part is, having been through it enough, is what, when it floods, you call the watch officer at the state, and then when it's coming, we've already laid out who's what, if I have staged contractors or what, but
It's all
it-
pre-existing.
yeah, and exactly. It tells you about who the emergency shelter operators, what all their cell phone numbers are, how all the contacts. So a lot of it is like that, but I certainly can show it to you so you can see what
Sure.
we're
Yeah,
talking
yeah.
about. But, that's,
Nothing's
it's one
changed.
of those
right?
things, I'm not really sure about the exercise after being through several floods. The only thing I'm ever looking at when I have a flood is the contact sheet, if I don't have somebody's phone number in my phone. Other than that, I'm not really looking at that.
No, that makes sense. Yep.
You know what I mean? So I think it's more for the state to help us. If we called them, they'd have a copy, so. But yeah, so they're all in the actual plan itself.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else?
All right.
Second.
All those in favor?
All right.
Opposed? All right, now we have sale of municipal real estate via quitclaim deeds to Brenda Badger and Cheryl Lewis, the
Ah.
easterly portion of so-called Fairview Street.
So if you remember, we did this, started this process in July 2024. And it was an interesting thing because someone had given the town of Bethel, there was Fairview and Verona Street. And back a while ago, they had deeded a portion of Verona Street to Tom Brennan. So why they didn't finish it by deeding it to the other owner, I do not know. So there's a piece of property between these two that someone had given to the town for roads, but the town never formally adopted them as roads. So they were just property. So basically they're back lawns. I think that the person who developed it had imagined a different development, so this was a long time ago. But anyway, so this is the process. We put it out. Obviously, nobody petitioned it, and we went to the lawyer for quitclaim deeds. I think we got slowed a little bit, and now, Denise will sign the deeds tomorrow in front of a notary. I'm not a notary, and then Pam will record them in the land records, and a portion goes to Brenda, and the other portion goes to Cheryl. So it's
Does that-
because you were not on the select board, some of you at the time.
Does that have to be warned in the paper or said?
It was at the time.
Yep.
So it went out in July of 2024.
Okay.
So
that's
it,
taken care of.
yeah, so yep, you have to, there's specific legal, like statutory process to it, just like throwing up a road. But land is easier than throwing up a road. Selling land is easier than throwing up a road. But it was weird because it was never adopted as road. The state, the lady at the state, she researched it and I researched it.
Yeah, never found anything.
No, so I went to the lawyer and said, I don't think this was ever actually anything. So that's how it worked out.
All right, we need a
Motion to authorize Denise to sign the necessary paperwork.
all those in favor?
All right.
All right, so Denise, since I'm not gonna be here, I'm gonna give you these so you can take them to Pam tomorrow and she knows she needs to record them. Oh, and, I'm not sure she's not recording them.
You want to give it to me just in case? or-
Yeah, just so you can, Pam, thank you.
All right, and now Vermont Mobile Spirits request for a first-class liquor license. Giraffes Gems request for a tobacco license. Babes request for a catering permit for a 5/24/25 event at the parking lot in front of Babes Bar or a dance party from 7 to 12.
If you saw Pam's note, Giraffes Gems filled out the wrong permit. They were actually not looking for a liquor license, which is the form they filled out. They were actually needed a tobacco license. Apparently in the state of Vermont, you need a tobacco license to sell paraphernalia. So that was the issue that we hadn't figured out, so. So no liquor license will be issued. I don't know.
I looked them up. I saw something somewhere about a something slowly. I think they're open and they're just, I don't know. I looked it up online and they've got some tie-dye from somebody else besides our lovely Dana Decker.
Yeah, so I don't know, but so just so you know, you had approved a liquor license. That's not gonna happen.
Motion to approve the liquor license, tobacco license, and catering permit.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
All right.
All right, discussion regarding a policy on press releases. There's a new sample policy drafted by VLTC as well as an addition of G in the existing Bethel Selectboard Rules of Procedure. This is discussion only.
Right, so obviously that really consider what the select board's thank you as a press release, as we didn't release any information that VSP hadn't already done. So, and we don't actually make the habit of this. We had done one other, but it was more, thank you, Jesse. It was more of a, in the past, just we weren't gonna comment for legal reasons. So, we looked around and nobody has a policy for press release. So I had said, well, maybe we'll stick it in the select board procedures, and then VLCT drafted one and sent it to Alice. So, like I said, so just discussion only. I don't know what you want to do here.
I thought it was a good idea just to be on the same page when we're speaking as a town. So I thought these were just helpful guidelines, and I only had a couple questions, like I saw that the guidelines suggest having a special emergency meeting to approve a policy, or not a policy, but a release of
Yeah,
some kind.
to give you a couple options, since nothing existed, I didn't know
Yep.
what you wanted to do. So if you're looking at the one I drafted, letter G, I don't know if you want to have a special meeting. When I looked at the policy that VLCT drafted, then they're saying that prior to release, all press releases must be reviewed and approved by me, that's the town
Mhm.
manager. So then you don't have to have a special meeting. I also would not think that in certain cases, an emergency meeting would come into play, because that's only when you're responding to like unforeseen occurrence or condition requiring immediate action. I don't think that a drug bust would have fallen that, but you certainly could have done a special meeting. But I don't know. You know, when we put out something, obviously, everybody's, when we say from the Bethel Select Board, it's from all of you. So I don't know if you, I don't know what you want to do. If you want to do have a feeling one way or the other, it might be easier if you did the press release policy VLCT drafted, because then you're just saying, I'm going to speak on your behalf. So, right, basically we did without having a policy in place. Yeah.
Right.
Gordon drafted it. Yeah, and then your article in Herald obviously matched, what we were saying, and we actually got some nice feedback from that. The lieutenant, who is who's the commander of the state police barracks, was very thankful. The sheriff was, and so, like I said, it's something we don't normally do, but and I don't know. I don't do media, so I'm not really sure that's a press release, but maybe it is. I don't know.
It doesn't, right? I mean,
I don't know.
you're making a good point, right? Because not everything is a press release just because we want to communicate something.
Right, I mean, we put out information all the time,
Yep.
but that was different. That's nothing
Yep.
that we've usually done in the past, but but it was also a great situation to say, hey, if you look around, and no offense to these other towns, we're all doing the best we can. The town of Randolph has a police department. They're not seeing they're not getting these big busts that are hitting the news and doing really well. Same thing with Royalton. So the fact that Bethel is working, with the sheriff's department, with VSP, with, federal, it was like a really good opportunity to be like, thank you. We really appreciate this. We know you're here, and we know it could be different.
Doesn't go unseen.
It doesn't go unseen, right?
Right. I
So-
had several community members come up to me or send me a text and said, that was awesome what you guys put out.
Mhm.
It's, they, especially some of them with the catch and release that we have, it's nice that they have some thank yous and gratitude going their way. And
Mhm.
it's great that the the town decided to put
Yeah.
something out.
I think, I'm sure it's let's face it, I'm sure being a police officer at times is a very thankless job. So I don't know, so I don't know what you want to do. That's why it was a discussion item, because I'm okay with killing G, like we could just go with the I was just, when you, I'm like, no, and then we couldn't find anything. I'm like, holy cow. But VLCT came through with a nice, thing. So nice to know we're getting our dues worth, our
That's
annual
right.
dues worth.
No, I thought the policy was good. I think Jordan made a good point. It's pretty much what happened,
Yep.
right? And so, and certainly I think what we said was well worth saying. We all agreed to what the premise of the
Right.
note was gonna be. But I think it's just good to have checks in place and make sure we're checking the boxes and
Yeah.
speaking as a group.
Yeah, and you don't want to, the hard part is too now, right? Obviously, we don't want to go afoul of public meeting law. Now that we have new, that the state of Vermont passed municipal or ethics rules for us, and I'm your fancy ethics liaison, it makes sense not to go foul of state law either. Is to go foul of state, but, I'm not sure, and I didn't like the part that you're talking about created by AI.
Yes.
We're doing that.
Get some information, they shot this out and then they reviewed it and.
Yeah, this
Looks good.
policy was created in part by
So,
AI. I get there, we can.
All wanna take this version home and try to just
Yeah.
make some, if we wanted to make notes or just questions, and we'll just look hard at this one to adopt it, not at the
Right.
next meeting, but maybe the meeting after that.
Right. Yep, the one that comes from VLTC.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
perfect.
We'll look hard at that one.
Yeah.
That's good.
Talk
I'll
next
remember
week.
to. Okay, that's good for me. All right, thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Mhm.
All right, we have reappraisal notices will be mailed out to all Bethel
Wait,
property
we
owners.
missed the May.
Oh,
Memorial
Memorial
Day.
Day. I skipped right
So-
over there.
Yeah, last year we met on a Wednesday instead of actually on Memorial Day. So I don't know what you want to do.
I
I
thought we
can,
skipped it last year.
I went back, I saved my calendars.
I know, and I was there
This
when you were looking at your
person, and
calendar, and
no,
I didn't think.
And
we
we did,
found it.
and, so, you know what, I don't have a problem meeting on Memorial Day if you want to, if that were, I don't care. We generally meet on holidays.
It's not really fair though, because that's your legal holiday, you should have the day off,
Well, don't start that now. We haven't done it in years. But yeah, I don't care. We could do it later that week. I will say this, we can skip it. However, don't complain to me if the meeting is on the first one in June. Don't want to hear about it.
Skip that one and then make that one meeting in June earlier so that we can get through more material.
We can, but do you think that'll confuse people if we just went to 7 and then we go back to 6?
We put it out there.
All right, where
Tuesday, they're
are
meeting
we as
here
far
for
as the
the
backlog?
27th. They're
Okay.
meeting.
Do we have a
So
big-
far, you don't have,
Right.
you have what?
Equity Inclusion is meeting here.
Oh, okay.
That's what.
Is that
Yeah.
Juneteenth, the 27th?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so what I will say is, Dave just asked a good question. What's your backlog? Your backlog right now is the 2 policies that I thought this was gonna be a tough agenda. I wasn't sure how long it was gonna take to get through everything because some of you are new at sewer water commissioners. I wasn't sure it was gonna go longer. So 2 policies that we had last time that we had questions on, the municipal ethics one was one, and now I'm drawing-
Unassigned funds.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
thank you. Fund balance policy. So you don't have a backlog, Dave. But what you're gonna have is those policies, and then, I told you, it's gonna be the year of the policy. You should see the list. I had Alice make me up every policy, every ordinance with a date on it. Some of them I'm not even sure I've never even looked at. Like, one was like 1997. I'm
Yeah,
like,
there's
it's a
some old
what?
ones in there.
And there's also some policing policies that we don't need anymore, obviously, because we got checked out. So you don't have a backlog right now, Dave. So I don't think it's the end of the world to skip it. And hey, worst case scenario, we have to, I think it'll be fine. I just think if you skip it, you're gonna be all right. There's not a big one.
We're doing 7 PM starting tonight.
Yep,
Going forward.
moving until,
So
till through Labor Day, yeah, right, through September. I don't know. Look me up in August. I don't know. I have no idea.
That's then, this is now.
No, I don't know. We'll see.
plan 6.
Just plan on going
First of
6.
September.
Okay, we'll go to 6, the beginning of September. Okay.
I just don't want a long meeting. to start. First,
I know, I was thinking of you. So what we could do is, we could wait and see what it looks like, and worst case scenario, you have another meeting in June or something. You could do,
Right now, it's May 3rd, right?
right. And so you're gonna have, like, I know on the 9th, the Conservation Commission is coming. There's 15, 20 minutes, so 20 minutes. They have their appointment. You're gonna set the tax rate in June, but it may not be that meeting. It may be the end of June meeting.
That's not, numbers are already there. That's real.
Right, I mean, look,
Kinda like
you know,
water and
basically I'll set the, yeah, I give you the tax rate is how it works. I do the math, and, but by then, hopefully you will have had your grievances. So we'll have a better idea when we go to set the tax rate. So I don't, all the grants that I've applied for out, I don't see anything. I'm saying that, knock on wood, I can't think of anything off the top of my head, so we can skip it, and then the policies are not, the ethics one has to be done in June, but some of the others can wait. I mean, the fund balance one, the other thing too is you have them both. So read them. If you have comments or edits and you tell me in advance, I could make those changes, make it go faster. So,
Responsible. Could go
yeah,
16 and 30.
if we needed to. All right, why don't we just plan on
Nice.
leaving the schedule, skip the May meeting, and we'll leave June as June. And if for something comes up and we're gonna be in the weeds, then, maybe we just have a special meeting in which we only need 24-hour notice, and, or we do one just policies or something, or something like that, so.
Alright. I
But
was
if-
disappointed you pulled those two off. I was ready to go.
Oh, were you? See? But if you have edits, send them to me in advance,
Oh.
because I can, take a look at them, so. The other thing what else, Dave, is coming up is, but you'll do it in June, you have to do my review, which means you guys will have a couple executive sessions. So I'll do my self-evaluation, you'll
Already?
do your, every year.
Just do that.
Yeah, it seemed like just yesterday.
Yeah,
I think it's, no, once a year, you do the
Yep.
same, you're on the same schedule.
Been a year since
I
we
am.
did that.
yep, yeah. 'Cause-
Unless you were running late.
No,
No,
Chris-
you guys did it late last year. You were into July.
Yeah,
before you
because
did it,
Chris
you
sent
got
me the
behind.
paperwork like a month and a half ago.
And I
like-
don't know.
Yeah,
sent it
it's
to
like,
you.
oh, you'll need this for her review.
It's already in
It's
my
like,
personnel file. So what happens is I give you a self-evaluation, you go into executive session, you
to
talk about it,
everything
you
else.
do what I ask you to do, which is don't just talk to me, talk to employees, talk to people in the community. And, you don't want to work in a vacuum. And then you work it out with Denise, and then I meet with all of you as a group, or tell her and she breaks the bad news. I don't know.
Have you talked to Chris?
Yes, recently?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, what was he in, a week ago or so?
Yes.
Yeah, so,
Just tell him now that he's gone, you're gonna start using your vacation days like he wanted.
yeah, no, I didn't, I did tell him that.
Until you left and.
Yeah, exactly. No, I didn't tell him that. No, we were talking about, road work and stuff. Cause he's still on the steering committee for roads, so. Anyhow, so, that'll be that. You'll look at preliminary end of year numbers and things like that. So I can't think of anything major right now. I think you guys may, we'll see how busy you are with the reappraisal.
Yeah.
We're all gonna get educated.
You know what?
Yeah,
I have some
on
information.
Wednesday.
Yep.
We're gonna be educated.
All right, so so you're gonna someone's gonna make a motion to skip that meeting.
Motion to skip the Memorial Day meeting and re-adjourn in June. A second.
All right. We've had discussion, all in favor? Opposed? You've been sitting here by yourself.
Exactly. So can we talk about this a little bit, the reappraisal?
Yep, that's what I was.
All right.
I jumped
So
on that earlier.
people, it's on Saturday, it looks like Denise texted me, people are starting to get their Town of Bethel change of appraisal notice. So it's a pamphlet and it lists every property in town. It's everything we've been talking about. And I have encouraged everybody to read the frequently asked questions because it does tell people here that current use values and veterans exemptions are not included in your listing. Do not equate a change in assessment with a change in the tax amounts. So what I did, actually, the timing worked out. I calculated, and this is bold and underlined and in bright red, preliminary tax rate, preliminary. It's what we do in March for the town report, and I was at 1.3034 based on the grand list we had at the time. Our grand list has gone up 63.89%. So, which is exactly, what we need to think about it, 15 years. So what your land value was 15 years ago, obviously has come up. So what people were nervous about was if their appraisal went up 50%, they were afraid their taxes were going up 50%. But at town meeting, based on last year's grand list, our estimated tax rate was 1.3034. Right now, my estimated tax rate is 0.818. So I put this out on Facebook and Front Porch Forum and our website, shows you how to do the math. Take your value, divide by 100, multiply it by the tax rate. And if you look at your current tax bill, it gives you some idea. I actually calculated someone's for them. Their appraisal had gone up significantly. They were going to pay $40 more in taxes. So this is not a one-to-one when people think about it. And this does not include the local agreement rate, any state payments you might receive, your veterans exemption or current use deduction. And it certainly absolutely 100% does not include your school tax. That is nothing that we weigh in on. I couldn't calculate it if I wanted to. The state of Vermont Department of Education sends us the tax rate in early July. So maybe, yeah, we're like right down to the wire. So, so obviously the phone number on it, there's an answering machine there. That's for the lister's office. Jane is calling people and making appointments for them. And obviously the first thing we're doing next week is the preliminary. So if you just had a question on your land value or something, you can come in and meet with Nemrick, but no walk-ins. You have to have an appointment. And and then they can maybe to make sure there wasn't a mistake in your grand list or anything. You can also go on our website. If you don't need a code, if you click on reappraisal and you type in either your name or your parcel number, your new information comes up. So what I have encouraged people to do is when you look at your appraisal value, deep breath. Are you going to sell it for more than that? If you are, you're probably good, So, when you think about that, it's like what I say, when the bank comes to assess your house, you want to live in the Taj Mahal. When the town comes, you want to live in an outhouse. So the truth is somewhere, in between. So we have put this information out. I just did something I never do, which is an interview, but I did one today with a Herald, Mary Ellen Applequist, very lovely. And to get this information out there so people can realize their taxes have been based on 15-year-old appraisals and, talk about that, how it works, how the NEMRIC contract worked and everything. So, so just so you know, if someone calls you, emails you, Facebooks you, please have them look at the town website or explain the math to themselves so that they're not, really overwhelmed by it or under the impression that, the tax rate. So, but it dropped, which is what we hoped for. So we'll obviously know you will adopt a tax rate in June. So, but this is still preliminary, but it's still good, so.
Sweet.
Yeah, so just wanted to let people know that information was out there. And if you haven't got have you guys got yours yet? Yeah, so this is the sample, yep. Or this is the draft version, the proof. They made a mistake. But yeah, so you should, I'm not sure how you normally get mail, if you're every third day or or what, but
Tom, did you get yours? No, we didn't either.
yeah,
Maybe today,
yeah.
maybe.
I did have some people who got some and some who didn't, so.
That's
But
good.
and it gives you
You.
everybody in town, so it shows you yours, your your previous one, and for some, they're huge difference, because 15 years, is a long time and too long, and that won't happen again. The state has stepped in now, so you have to do a reappraisal, townwide reappraisal every 6 or 7 years, so, which makes more sense, so.
All right, we all good with that? There's a copy of the general ledger in your packet. I don't know if anyone has any questions on that.
Just to let you know, I think I'd said in the town manager's note, but I did reach out to USDA-RD, USDA Rural Development, to see if Bethel is eligible for funding for the town garage. They have a combination loan and grant program that I'm hoping we qualify for. I haven't heard back yet from our representative for this area yet. So, hopefully, that's my big project, is to start working on the town garage process.
Looks like
So-
we pretty much went through a lot of the stuff on your town manager.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, so the budget status report's in there. Does anybody have any questions? I know it's always people like the budget is positive and that is negative, and it's just the way that works out, but you can see the percentages left. Obviously, we're in April, so we're 83% way through the year. I do try to put in notes if stuff is, what's coming or what's changed, or so. I don't know if anyone has any questions on that. Not now. You can always email me later if you do. What else? So we issued a notice of alleged violation. I worked with Denise, the health officer. That's in here. There you go. She's loving it.
Yeah.
And Brian, I
Did
put that
take-
information about the law for the
I
case
see
that came up.
Yeah.
That's in here, and
That's good, thank you.
yeah, and a bummer is I did not get the grant for the municipal parking lot, so
Ooh.
I don't know. I haven't figured out how we're gonna pay for that yet, so we'll see. Could be some serious, hot mix. I'm not really sure right now. So maybe next year. I don't know, but I do know there needs to be some maintenance to it, so, but I was hoping to do all the stormwater and everything, but whatever. We didn't get
Yeah.
picked, so maybe next year, but
Falcon Drive, is that a goal this year?
no. Funny story. That's a state, grant, and the gentleman called me about it. I don't know, a couple weeks ago, and he said, we were talking about, he needed some more detailed plans, which I sent him, and I was like, well, we're not gonna do it this year, we'll do it, I wanna do it next summer, and he was like, oh, no. It might be 2028, and I'm like, oh, no. We're like, no, what? And he was like, you gotta, cause it's all the engineering, and I'm like, I already have 30% design from Du Bois and King. I really don't need this spelled out. When you look at the design, we've already put the blue dye in, there's a pipe here, a pipe there, really? And so, we'll see. But
Cause our portion is 55,000.
yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, he was saying that we were gonna have to go through, several hoops, and I'm sure, obviously permitting, but I'm like,
He's
I
never
don't
worked
need
with-
another 5-year grant. I mean, we don't, and you can attest to that, but we over-engineer. Just give me the construction money. So, right? So we'll see. So I sent him the plans and I haven't heard back. So, but I told him, no, it was next year, but we'll see.
2028, the price will go up $150,000.
No.
And that's the thing too. And it's laid out. It's very simple what needs to happen right there. So, but it needs to happen. I don't know. So we'll see.
Nothing going on Pinellas Bridge yet.
Nope. ECI, yeah, they sent me an email. I think you'll be seeing something before the end of the month. You'll see what's gonna come out next is all their sign package and they're gonna get stuff ready, so they'll be, I expect we'll see them pretty soon. But has anyone driven over the road cruise fancy bridge on Peavine that they did?
Yep,
Came out nice.
a little rough on the,
The
going into it.
material is Compacted.
All that
outside.
Oh, yeah,
rain,
yeah,
yeah.
right, exactly. But the bridge itself. was-
Bridge
Oh,
is
the bridge
fine.
itself is great.
Got
Yeah.
Better than the road on your way to Randolph.
Yeah.
Yeah, well.
We hit that going like 30.
Oh, yeah.
It about ripped the axle out.
Yeah. Yeah, the
That
first
thing
one,
was
'cause
like
the second
down and
one,
then up, like
Yeah.
immediate.
Yeah, so we,
if you go up North Road, you gotta take it easy too.
yeah, so I expect you will be seeing some action certainly before the end of the month. I try to remember the date he said in his email. And then I expect, hopefully shortly we'll be seeing something from, Waters on Sugar Hill because I have all the deeds signed for there.
Waters is doing the North Road project. right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yep. So, maybe they'll, swing over after that. So, yeah, so we'll see how that all plays out, but. So we'll see. Hopefully Falcon Drive goes next summer. After all the digging we did last year, I wouldn't mind not having a major construction project going on this year. We had a lot of town dug up last year. so it's like,
Wow, who you?
Yeah, they were calling to complain, like, you gotta be more specific. I got about 7 holes open right now. Which one do you want to talk about? So hopefully, we'll see. So hopefully, just do general, I think we got a project to do on Dart, but I think we'll do that in-house, so. Yes, yep. The culvert, the problem is the culvert, so on Falcon Drive under the underpass. We think that culvert was plugged a little bit. The problem is that culvert's 20 feet down and we don't have a piece of equipment that can reach down that far to dig it out. So AJ was meeting with me and then headed over to check it out, and we'd battled with Christian Hill because the beavers on Christian Hill. So that thing got plugged. We dug that out, then went up and had to dig it out a little bit more on Friday. But that seems to be holding right now, but we're doing it, before the rain.
You
So
need to get A&R up there.
I hired someone to trap it.
I'll take it.
No, you got to go, we gotta
No, trap
You
it.
said that we gotta dig, yeah,
you gotta, cause that culvert is half full,
that's what you said.
just because of discharge stuff.
Exactly.
When I was a kid, the water came out of the pipe and dropped.
Yeah,
I need those beavers.
yeah. So it's a lot of, so that's.
Out back.
So anyways, yeah, so they are working on that, or they're going to be, but right now,
I need them built up.
oh, did he? Cause I said to him, it sounds like 2 guys and a shovel. Because I'm like, what do we, he's like, I don't have a piece of equipment otherwise you have to build almost a road to get to it. And I was like, 2 guys and a shovel? Yeah. Yeah, and I think that AJ was talking about talking to you and Jean and maybe doing, or no, talking to Jane, sorry, not Jean, Jane. And then there's another place where there's either a culvert that's blocked or we need to install another culvert. So we might be doing something else there near Jane's to try to remediate that, because that's usually a problem. But yeah. Yeah, exactly. Isn't everything's worth after 18? So we'll see.
all right. So the minutes from the 4/28/25 select board meeting. Do they look okay?
Look okay to me.
Look good to me.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Other communications? We really didn't have any communications
No.
in there.
Couple pages.
No, just some, stuff to get up to date on.
Any other business necessary to come before the board this evening?
We're all volunteering at that bond vote next week, right?
Oh, yes.
Yep, and sent out an email today.
I haven't heard them.
Probably signed.
I guess it's not volunteering, it's volunteering, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Take care of that.
She
Mr.
probably
volunteered.
signed them up. Yeah, so. Oh, good to
Okay.
the count, nice.
Mhm.
Crossroads open that night?
Huh? Yeah, I heard you're going to,
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
if you haven't heard.
All right, if we're all set with this meeting, we need a motion to adjourn.
I'm,
Motion to adjourn?
Wait,
yeah,
you saying something?
yeah, I moved to adjourn.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were like, wait.
No,
I
he's
was
supposed to
gonna say.
Oh, you want to reopen it?
All right, all those in favor? If, motion carries.